Hey grade, this is Miss Harkness. I wanted to create this video because some of our classmates are still struggling with how to solve a multi-step equation. Now remember, the goal of the equation is to get x all by itself. So whatever has been done to x, we need to undo in order to get back down to the individual variable as it stands. Here is an equation with variables on both sides. Now remember, the goal of my equation is to find out what x equals. So I'm going to undo everything that has been done to x so I can see what it originally was. On my left, I have 8x plus 2. On my right, I have 4x plus 18. What would be my first step? Correct. We want to take away 4x from both sides. It's like removing the gummy bears. If we had 4 gummy bears and 18 M&Ms on the right, we have 8 gummy bears and 2 M&Ms on the left. When we take away 4 gummy bears from each side, we've got 4 gummy bears left plus my 2 M&Ms, but only 18 M&Ms here on the right. All right, so let's take away 2 M&Ms from each side. So now I have 4x is 16. Now for each of these x's, we've got 4 of them. I'm going to place 4 M&Ms next to each one, because this would give me 16 M&Ms. Right? I don't need 16 M&Ms. What I can rather do is divide both sides by 4, and I will have my final x equals 4. Now let's say we solve it out. We're not confident in our problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the original equation, and anywhere that there was an x, I'm going to substitute in a 4. So if I imagine this first one is 8 times 4, that's a 32. Plus the 2 that's there gives me 34 for this right-hand side. Excuse me, for the left. 4 times 4 is 16. Plus 18 is also 34. Checks. You might see a problem like this that says, is 4 a solution to this equation? It is, because as you back up and you go back to the original problem as we had it, back up, back up. Okay, before we even got into all of our M&Ms and such, we don't need any of that. So we go back here to our original problem. It's a multi-step equation because we did what? What was our first step? We moved, actually let me use a pen. We moved the variable. When you move from one side to the other on this T line, you have to use inverse operations. You have to do the opposite and do it to both sides. You have to do the same thing to both sides. Then we moved the constant. My last step was to divide. And you have these steps in your glossary. Glossary tells you the 2 pre-steps to check for the distributive property and check for grouping like terms, but then you solve using inverse operations. It's the same steps every single time. Now at this point, we're 4 minutes 20 seconds into this video. We've solved, we've checked, and we've written down steps to remind us how to do this in the future. So you can see it's possible to solve a problem like this in 3 minutes. Check it in 4 minutes. You don't need to be taking 10 to 15 minutes on one of these problems. Although the numbers are different in each one, it's the same concept, same goal. Get x alone. Okay? Now I'm going to put another one on this next page, and I want you to try it by yourself. When you're finished solving, press play again and you'll be able to see the math worked out. All right, here's the equation I want you to solve. So go ahead, pause the video, and solve it. Okay, here we have it solved out. My first step was I moved my variable all to the left side of the equation. They subtracted 2x, so I added 2x to both sides. My next step was moving the constant to the right. They subtracted 3, so I added 3 to both sides. By using the inverse operation in each layer here, it cancels out the term that we're trying to get rid of. We need to get x all by itself. Now, for my final step, I divided both sides by 12, which gives me 9/12 as my fraction. However, that can be reduced down to 3/4. That's my final answer.